This is going to be a very unconventional video because this is basically just going to be solely targeting one aspect of a movie that I saw about a year ago. It's called Warrior. For anyone who doesn't know it, it's basically about two brothers who are both MMA fighters, or they were MMA fighters, and they hear about this tournament that's going to give out a lot of money as a top prize, and they both need the money for different reasons, but both valid reasons, so they both enter, and basically the movie ends with them fighting each other in the final round. Honestly, just in a nutshell, I liked this movie. I really did. It obviously has a lot of cliches of the typical fighting drama, the brothers drama, there are no surprises in this movie if you've seen enough of these kinds of movies. You can pretty much guess what's going to happen. But this is the thing with the cliches in the story. They either did them very well so that it didn't really matter, or they transcended them or subverted them. So you've got the underdog story with most of these fighting films, but Warrior decided to do two underdog stories, the brothers. They didn't make one good and the other bad. They made them both human. They made them both have reasons to dislike each other. They had a reason to argue. And yeah, one of them wants to reconcile, the other one doesn't, because he's much more angry than the other brother. But it's not like the other brother didn't do anything bad or good. They've both hurt each other in ways, but for valid reasons, in their own opinions. And then you've got their reactions to the father. Sure, that can get cliched, but it's well acted, and that can make up for the not necessarily 100% original story. Because, let's face it, there are very few stories made nowadays that are 100% original. What maddeningly angered me, because this movie did anger me. By the end of at the end of the film, I was angry because the ending was horrendous. I actually have a term now for this kind of movie. From now on, whenever I see a movie that is decent or good for the most part, and then throws it all out the window with a really bad ending, from now on, any movie that falls under that category suffers from the Warrior syndrome. I have actually coined a term for myself to describe those kinds of movies, because Warrior was the prime example in my own experience of watching movies where a good film is so derailed by the last 5 minutes or so, last 5 or 10 minutes. I can't believe how they managed to throw it all away so badly. So I'm just going to go into it right now. The movie is very gritty and very dark in terms of, the ambiguity of the brothers' hatred for each other and their love for each other. It's ambiguous as to who's in the right, who's in the wrong. We have to decide. And we also have to decide who deserves the money more. And the movie establishes that there is not going to be a simple conclusion. Tom Hardy's character, Tommy he was a soldier in Iraq, and he saved some people's lives, and that's why he's famous now, even as he's fighting in the tournament. But then it turns out that he is a deserter because his platoon was killed by friendly fire, including his friend. And so he was and the army covered it up, I should add. So that's why he's like, I'm not going to do this anymore. The army betrayed me. So, I'm not going to fight anymore. I'm going to look after my friend's widow and see that she gets the money she needs to basically raise her family. And meanwhile, Brendan is also trying to raise money for his cause, because his family is also in debt and whatnot, and the mortgages are piling up, and so he's trying to make money. He promised his wife he would stop fighting, but he's driven into it because there is no quicker way to get cash. So they both have good reasons for entering the tournament, and they both deserve to win, you could say. And the battle, for the most part, goes really well, and it's really agonizing to watch these two men beat each other. And even when Tommy's arm breaks, or something, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but even when Tommy's arm is broken or disabled, he can't use one of his arms, he still fights. And Brendan's just crying, and Tommy's just refusing to give in. He's just so motivated and so angry that he'll keep fighting. I was on the edge of my seat watching the film, and I was just like, I really don't know how this is going to end. Because even if Tommy wins, he is going to be court-martialed. They established that. He's going to be court-martialed by the U.S. Army. There are troops waiting outside his door. So there is no way they could possibly make this a happy ending, or there's no way there's not going to be a price. Let's put it that way. And then this really ridiculous folk song starts playing over the credit, like over the scene. Everything gets drowned out for this song. And the moment I heard it, I was like, no, turn it off. We don't need music. Well, I thought that in my head, at least. I was just like, please don't play the music over this scene. It's good enough. You don't need to emphasize it. It's fine. You're taking away the atmosphere here. And, of course, the song plays until the very end, but that's another story. So then, Brendan grabs Tommy, and he's got him in this hold where it's hurting him more and more, and Tommy's basically in trouble. If he has to, he'll have to tap out, or else he's going to get grievously hurt, or Brendan's going to have to stop hurting him. And then Brendan starts screaming in Tommy's ear, I'm sorry, and I love you, Tommy, I love you. And then Tommy taps out, basically. He says, okay, I give up. And then everyone cheers, and Brendan's crying and hugging Tommy, and Tommy's crying as well. And then they get up and walk out of the ring and through the crowd towards the door. And then the brothers just walk out the door, and it's a freeze frame. And I was just annoyed because that just drops half a dozen of the plot points that they had established. They hadn't even bothered. It's like we so badly wanted to turn all this around and make it a happy ending that we sacrificed everything that this film had established. The atmosphere, the plot points, the characters, the motivations, the consequences. Everything was thrown out of the window for this folksy, wonderful ending where everything works out. And I should say, I don't hate happy endings, but I hate an ending that goes against the flow of the rest of the film. Now, of course, some people might be asking at this point what I would have wanted for the ending. This is what I think the ending should have been. Get rid of the folksy song, but have the scene where Brendan has got Tommy in that chokehold or something, the hold, basically. Brendan keeps asking to stop. He doesn't want to do this. Tommy does not stop, because realistically, he has gone so long with all this resentment towards his brother. I highly doubt that just saying, I'm sorry, would work, because he tried to say that before, and it didn't work. Why should it work now? This is what the more powerful and moving ending would be. Tommy basically needs to go to the hospital. He basically loses consciousness, and so the fight is by default given to Brendan. And Brendan wins the money that he wants, but he is not happy with this because he's got to live with the fact that he nearly killed his brother for this money. And this is where it comes back full circle to when he had broken his promise about not fighting again. He then swears that he swears for good. This time he means it, that he's never going to fight again. Because this is what that money cost him. He won the money at the cost of his brother, who is in the hospital and also is going to jail. That would be, I think, a very depressing ending, but it would be in keeping with the rest of the film. And it would have been so memorable. How many movies end like that? A movie about heavy consequences and the fact that some people don't forgive and don't forget? That would have been such a brilliant and harsh ending to what was a good and harsh film. Anyway, that's my rant done for tonight. I hope everybody had a good Easter. And, yeah. Until my next video, I guess. Take care.